Famous gangsters and hardmen traditionally operate under the radar of the general public. Sure, sometimes names have made their way into the public, but for most, the goal is to keep your name and face out of the news and keep making money. But in recent times, there has been a new breed of gangster, one that uses social media in the same way a legitimate business would. And chief amongst this new breed has been Mr. Flashy and the Gucci Gang. Although this group has been one of the top Dublin gangs for a few years, it now seems that we are about to witness their end. Welcome back to Crime Chronicles. Stay tuned to find out about the rapid rise and sudden downfall of Mr. Flashy and the Gucci Gang. These young gang members promote themselves and their illicit products on social media, as well as using the platforms to taunt rivals, start feuds, and intimidate witnesses. Mr. Flashy and the Gucci Gang rose up the ranks quickly by being highly visible and using social media platforms to flaunt pictures of themselves draped in expensive designer wear, attracting many wannabe young gangsters to their crew. But much like a firework, the gang and their leader burned fast and bright, and recently they've quickly fizzled out due to a number of factors. Firstly, who is Mr. Flashy? As for a long time, Irish media were unable to name him or show his face due to strict defamation laws. We now know him to be Glenn Ward, a 30-year-old from Finglas, an outer suburb of Dublin. Although he has seemingly lived a charmed life and barely caught any heat from the authorities for his criminal deeds, it turned out the police had been biding their time and have recently arrested the gangster. Mr. Flashy and an associate were arrested on January the 11th of 2024 in connection with the seizure of 2 guns, 300 rounds of ammunition, and almost 50,000 euros of cash in February of 2022. The series of searches in the Finglas area took place on February the 10th of 2022 and unearthed the automatic weapons, ammunition, and cash across 9 addresses in Dublin. These coordinated raids struck at the heart of the Gucci Gang and their business, removing dangerous weapons from the streets, the proceeds of crime from their pockets, and evicting them from houses and apartments used for the sale and distribution of drugs. Until recently, Glenn Ward has been a prominent figure in Dublin's criminal underworld, and his meteoric rise was also helped by early links to the Kinahan cartel. He has been associated with serious criminal activities, including involvement in feuds, violent acts, and large-scale drug dealing. Known for his ruthless reputation, Mr. Flashy has also survived assassination attempts, but this didn't stop him feuding with other gangs. Despite his notoriety, Mr. Flashy has managed to evade law enforcement in many instances, maintaining a significant presence in the criminal landscape of Dublin, leading some to suspect that he may somehow be involved with the authorities. His over-the-top online persona and need to start and maintain feuds with other groups has seen the Kinahans sever ties with him and his gang, as he is being seen as a liability. Recently, it was reported that a former mob den used by the Mr. Flashy drugs gang has been put up for rent through Dublin City Council. It had been used as a safe house and to plan drug deals and mob hits for several years, before being taken into possession by the local authority and boarded up. The property on Ratoath Drive in Finglas, Dublin 11, remained idle since Gardaí raided it in February of 2022. It is understood that the local authority bought the property from a person who has no involvement in crime after the raid. In an affidavit filed to the High Court in 2020, officers from the Criminal Assets Bureau stated the man known as Mr. Flashy, who is associated with the Kinahan cartel, based his criminal activities from a privately rented house at 15A Ratoath Drive in Finglas. The affidavit also stated at the time the house had been modified and has bulletproof glass to the front and rear, fortified doors, and vicious pit bull dogs in the garden. This is to protect the occupants from attack and to deter easy entry and apprehension by the Gardaí. One alarming detail of the affidavit stated that the address had been searched in relation to drug-related organised criminal activity on 16 different occasions since March of 2016. Dublin City Council has said it is inviting applications from its waiting lists to view the property, which has now been fully refurbished. The council said in a statement that it is important they ensure good tenants go in there, and it's paramount they have been checked and fully vetted by the police. They added that the neighbourhood has put up with a lot over the years, and they hope whoever ends up renting it will be left in peace. With his once thriving criminal organisation crumbling around him, Glenn Ward is now in the grip of the legal system, with a number of serious charges being levelled against him. After his arrest, the court heard that there are genuine safety concerns in relation to Mr. Ward, after Gardaí received information about threats to his safety. Judge Finnan agreed to ask prison authorities to send Mr. Ward to a specific jail named by Ward's defence team. She also asked the media not to report the name of that prison over the safety concerns, or to say when Mr. Ward would be back in court again in the coming weeks. Ward, who did not speak during the short hearing, wore a dark tracksuit in court, probably a designer item based on his reputation. The court heard the defence will apply for bail at Ward's next appearance, and that Gardaí will be objecting. The court also heard there would be objections to legal aid, and no application was made. Glenn Ward is now also being linked to a brutal attack in a Dublin steakhouse on Christmas Eve of 2023 that left 2 men dead. On that night, gunman Tristan Sherry, who had previously been connected with Mr. Flashy, entered Brown's Steakhouse and shot Jason Hennessy Sr. Hennessy was a well-known gang leader, and his crew is known to have been involved in a feud with Mr. Flashy and the Gucci Gang. Jason Hennessy Sr. would die from his wounds after the shooting. In a brutal twist, the shooter, Tristan Sherry, would also die after being overpowered at the scene and beaten and stabbed to death by associates of Hennessy. The gun used by Sherry in the shooting has not yet been recovered and is suspected to have been removed from the crime scene before the Gardaí arrived. In the immediate aftermath of the attack, there were a number of posts on social media suggesting the attack was linked to the Corduff feud, a brutal series of shootings, beatings, machete attacks, and acts of violence that involved Flashy, the Gucci Gang, and the Hennessys. Police are now bracing for an increase in violence in West Dublin, and revenge attacks are expected. This is the end for Mr. Flashy. He is now plain old Glenn Ward. Many of the Gucci Gang are either in jail or have abandoned him. The Kinahan cartel, early supporters of Flashy, have now dropped him like a hot potato. Raids of his properties have seized guns, drugs and money, and have now led to his arrest on extremely serious charges. The authorities now think there is a real threat to his safety, especially if they can get him to act as an informant. And in a final act of indignity, it has been reported that rival gangs have already started moving into his former territory, filling the vacuum left by his once dominant gang. Mr. Flashy, your time is up. Thank you for joining us today on Crime Chronicles. Please like, subscribe, and share the channel with your friends.